Yo, it's Devin. So I know you've been getting a lot of me on the channel lately. Basically, the system's been pretty stressed out, and usually when that happens, I come out. I've just been having more time to exist and think and come up with awful ideas for videos. One of them, probably honestly the worst idea I've ever had for a video, being what we're gonna do today. So welcome to my DID media representation tier list. So when I had the idea for this and I started putting together my list of all of the DID representation in movies and TV, so I had only seen like maybe half. So over the last few days I've been binge watching horrible DID movies. Yeah, let's get into it. We have all the options right here. Our tier list is on a scale of awful to good or okay. Our standards are low because we get no okay representation, let alone good. Our naming scale is based off of what people like to call DID and all the not accurate things they call it. Super problematic, which is pretty much the scale of how we're going to be thinking about this, is how much damage is it doing. So let's get into that. I always get these two mixed up, so we're going to do them at the same time. So Identity and Sick Souls. Both awful. Let's start with Identity. Identity is basically about this guy who's on death row for, having DID and killing people. Love that. And then there's this side plot of these people that are stuck in this cabin. Spoiler alert. Not that you want to watch this. Spoiler alert. The people in the cabin end up being his alters and they have to kill each other to get the last one. Because that's how it works. Then we have Sick Souls, which again, super problematic. A little bit more sympathetic though than Identity. Just a tad. We still got the murderer thing, and the whole thing is from the perspective of the psychiatrist that doesn't believe DID is real and is trying to disprove it the whole time, and basically paints it as there's no evidence for this, which isn't true. So we love that. And we love the murder thing, which we keep seeing over and over again, and you're gonna keep seeing over and over again for all of our representation. Yeah. So we have Sick Souls, which basically plays on the idea of DID as just possession. Because while you have this psychiatrist that's like looking for reasons that DID isn't real and trying to disprove it, you got her dad, who's also a psychiatrist, who's like, well, I got the one legit case right here. Look at this guy. You can't deny it. Turns out this guy's just possessed. A lot of systems, our system included, has been hurt by the idea of demonic possession as an explanation for why somebody has a dissociated identity. So that's actually extremely harmful. No matter how sympathetic they tried to make like some of the parts look, and the murderer thing's still there. So I don't know, like they're both really bad. I'm gonna have to say that I think overall Identity is worse for our representation than Sick Souls is. So I'm gonna put Identity in schizophrenia. And I'm gonna put Sick Souls and split personality syndrome. Let's do Psycho next. Psycho is, we have a personal deep-seated hatred for Psycho. There was like a film class we had to watch it in. That entire class just like talked about the film, talked about the crazy person with DID, and how wild it was that they ended up having multiple personalities, which is literally like they say it at the end of the film, which is why I hate when people are like, he doesn't even have DID, it's schizophrenia, or it's like a comment on anti-transgender ideas, and it's like, no, they literally say he has DID. But for DID representation, especially being like the film was like monumental in a lot of ways, like cinematically. And having that be a film that just trashes on DID and a lot of people don't even know. And they build a sympathetic character out of one of them, but then the other character is a murderer. Why wouldn't they be? Welcome to DID representation, where everyone's a murderer. For our friend Psycho here, I hate to do it, but you know, it's all so bad. It's all so bad. So I'm like, literally, unless it's green, it's bad. It's bad. So I'm gonna put it in split personality disorder. Like I said, I hate it. I hate it personally. I personally have a vendetta against this movie. But there's just some that do it so much worse to us, guys. What if it works? So this is one of the ones, including Psycho. The other two I watched recently, but including Psycho that I'd already seen. What if it works is good. 4DID representation. OCD representation, not so much. Before the DID representation, the character shows trauma, is sympathetic, is done pretty well. I don't remember if the trauma is like from childhood, but you know, they could always have like a buried trauma that they didn't talk about in the film. But the alters are like shown well, the switches are done like nicely. So I'm gonna put it in dissociative identity disorder. Don't hate on me. Like, you guys might disagree with some of these. Like, maybe you think this one's awful. I thought it was pretty good for the DID representation. For the DID representation. Otherwise, we shall not. We shall not recommend. And then I have a bone to pick with this one. So next we're gonna do Sybil. Sybil's so hard for me, you guys, because alter presentation from our experience, we found it to be accurate. And the general emotions and experiences that the character expressed, accurate. Switches and time loss were really dramatized. And then you had the fact that they showed so much of the trauma. And I personally found it to be kind of triggering. And because you have like all the harm that it did of, like, I didn't do any research into this, but apparently it's like iatrogenic, is that how it's pronounced? It's like therapist caused, and apparently that's confirmed. I don't know, but if so, that makes it worse, and at least that's the public image, so I'd say it does do some damage. So I'm gonna put it in multiple personality disorder. And then also the fact that the trauma is so present, like, to me that kind of says, you know, it's okay to like exploit trauma, and it's okay to ask people about like really personal details like that in such a public way. So I don't like that aspect either. Right now we got one in all of the categories, which is not planned. I didn't mean to do that. It just kind of happened. I grabbed it, so I guess we gotta do split next. Okay. Sadly, this one needs no introduction. And seeing as we've like helped, you know, move forward a campaign about why Split should be removed, and considering the fact that it's all based around the beast and supernatural ideas, and it completely wrecked public image of DID, and considering the fact that there's murderers with DID, of course, in it, and considering the fact that it's just awful all around, I'm gonna have to say we're gonna put it in the worst category, which is calling DID schizophrenia. Hate it. Hate it. Hate it. Okay. Many Faces of Jane. If you haven't, this is the only like real DID one on here. Obviously it's super accurate. We found it to be like a great presentation, super like sentimental. There was some like issues some people had, how it was kind of exploitive of trauma experiences, I think, in therapy maybe. I don't remember really, but we did go into depth about our review on our Twitter. But as for representation and for all the good it did, it's gotta get the green. Like, it's gotta go, because it's the best thing we currently have, in my opinion. But this one did a really good job as far as like TV and movies, so big thumbs up. And you should definitely check it out. It's on Hulu. If you haven't seen it, watch it. It's so good. Waking Madison. Let's talk about Waking Madison, because as far as all of the like not documentary movie TV show stuff I had to go through for this video, Waking Madison was by far the best. I literally just done a live stream where I said that a different movie was the best representation I had ever seen, but then I watched this one, and actually it turns out somebody else in the system has already seen it, because I was watching it and I kept getting like at very specific scenes, like I was like, I've seen this, and then I was like, yeah, I'm getting deja vu, somebody sat down and watched this, but I didn't remember anything about it, so it was okay. Everything about it I liked, about like how they made the alters and the characters and how they like drawn it out, but But, okay, first off, it's triggering for, like, religious trauma. Second off, then you got how the ending is basically, like, she heals in 30 days and all of the alters go away and it's just one person remaining and it's the real one, and all of that's really harmful because you can't heal DID that fast, first off. Second off, the idea that one person is more real, or that, like, the way that you heal is getting rid of all of the alters, that's not true. That's not how integrating a dissociated person works at all. You basically coalesce all of these dissociated parts into one identity state, and you bring together all of their memories and sense of self, and you integrate their level of ego, their, like, conscious. So my problem with Waking Madison is that it gets healing really wrong, but a lot of the emotions and experiences expressed, like, throughout the beginning, if you just cut off the end of it, is really pretty accurate. So I like that. I'm gonna put it in green because it's pretty good. Next, let's just order these out a little bit better. Next, let's do United States of Terra, because United States of Terra, I have big qualms with this one. Some of it good, a lot of it really dramatic. A lot of the choices the system makes extremely questionable. You have the ending, which is awful, the whole, like, killing all the alters thing. Awful. I mean, there was some good parts to it. I don't want to, like, get it too far down because a lot of systems do really like it. But I have problems with it. Yeah. And then you have the whole, like, I think for most, if not all of it, it's painted as, like, they get into childhood trauma later, but for a lot of it, it's painted as it's an adult trauma that made the alters, which isn't how it works, or, like, an adolescent, like, college years, I think. Not how it works. But I think they correct that later on. It was harmful, though. Like, the killing alters thing and just how dysfunctional the system was. I'm gonna put it... in split personality disorder. Like, personally, I feel like as a system, it's, like, a lot worse. But I think most people, when they watch this, had a positive outlook leaving it. So, gonna put it in split personality disorder. So Secret Window is, like, hardly about DID, but when you look it up, it's one of the first ones that pop up on the Google image, so I had to do it. And, like, the whole thing, like, there's this big ending with a DID killer, so we love that. I mean, it ends up at the end being more DID, but it's, like, it's caused by, like, the stress of his wife cheating on him, so that's not how that works. So I'm gonna put it in calling DID schizophrenia. First off, let's just get it out of the way. Me, Myself, and Irene was an embarrassment. It was a joke. It was a joke. It just made a joke out of DID. It was just a part that came around for, like, no real reason at all, and just, like, ruined this guy's life, and was super offensive and a predator and just an awful person, and basically just gave him an excuse to be a really bad guy. So, not how alters work, not why people split. Basically play on that whole, like, Jekyll and Hyde, good, evil, split, like, down the middle idea. And I hate that. Giving that a good old thumbs down and putting it in the schizophrenia category, or the calling DID schizophrenia category. So Frankie and Ellis I found to be really good, actually. It's another one I'd recommend if you're looking for decent DID representation. It presents the alters very sympathetically. It's pretty accurate as far as I remember on, like, symptoms, and also, like, they never cover childhood trauma. I don't think they only cover, like, later adult trauma, if I remember correctly. Some of these muddle together, but overall it was a good representation, and I think it did positive things, so I'm gonna put it in the green. So next, let's do Fight Club. Fight Club, I don't know if most people associate it with DID. I mean, that is the entire ending, so if you don't get that, you're kind of, like, missing the point. But, like, I don't hate the character. And I don't think they kill anyone. I mean, they are, like, they end up blowing up the building, but I think they have a point, don't they? Like, I think there's a moral. I don't think it's the worst thing ever. It's kind of violent. I might be memorying wrong. I might be memory discorrect. It's not as bad as Six Souls. It's not as decent, but problematic as Sybil. So I guess I need to put it in the middle bad. That's what it is. It's middle bad. The middle bad category with Psycho and United States of Tara. Maybe I need to rearrange a little bit. Yeah, okay. We're gonna move Psycho to Split Personality Syndrome because I think it's not quite on the same level as Fight Club in United States. Also, note how many, other than like, note how many of the DID representations are serial killers. Note how many of them are just named or include the name of the person or alters. Like how original, identity, names, like that's like a thing that like Shakespeare wrote about. So, like, so creative. Next one we're gonna do is Ratched. Ratched really didn't like for a couple reasons. One, like the DID serial killer, and like combined with some accuracy, combined with a lot of not accuracy and a lot of like blown out of proportion symptoms and switches and alters and everything just not good, and how the like interjects just like nothing makes sense. Nothing makes sense. The show overall is just triggering. It has a COCSA plotline like driven throughout that like nobody talks about, and I found that triggering for survivors watching it, and there was a lot of people in the DID community that were critiquing it and went in watching it and didn't know that, us included, and we were actually really triggered by that for a while after. But that's like, you know, personal stuff. That's our own thing to deal with. But overall, for representation, I found it to be super harmful. And again, it was named by dissociative identity disorder too, so that just plugs in the representation. And then the only other thing that's popular in media recently about DID was Split. So how do you think people are taking us right now? What do you think people see when they look at us? And just take a wild guess. So I'm gonna throw that one in schizophrenia because I found that to be really fucking harmful. So the last one we're gonna do is Three Faces of Eve, which I'm conflicted about this one because it did have some accuracies again, but it also had a lot of inaccuracies, and it had a lot of like psychiatric abuse of like sexual alters, which was not at all good. And then the presentation of just like split down the middle, and then at the end it was like one alter remains and all of the rest of them just disappear, which again isn't how it works, and then she's safe, but it's supposedly based on a real story. I found it to be pretty harmful. Like I was originally thinking it's about on the same level as Sybil, but I think Sybil's a little bit better in like displaying empathetic, like accurate characters. Maybe I'm wrong, but I'm gonna put it in the middle category of split personality disorder. Because it's still bad, but I don't know if it's the worst I've seen after all of this. So there we go. That's my rating of all of the horrible representation we have in media. We have a few good ones at the bottom. I don't know. I mean, I'm really like throwing them a bone by including The Many Sides of Jane, because that one is a true representation of what DID looks like. That's accurate. That's what it is. It's not fiction. But I'm really just trying to be like, you know, if you're looking for something that is accurate, that does show what it's like to live with DID, watch this. It's on Hulu. If you have Hulu, watch it. It's good. And then the others are also pretty good. Not at all like shitty representations of DID. So we take what we can get in this household. Unfortunately, until one day when things are better and there's not as much stigma. And I said this in my live stream also, but it really does seem like all I'm focusing on the channel is like all this stigmatizing crap. Hopefully I can get some more positive stuff, because I try and do this in a lighthearted way, but it's still like, it's stigma. Like, it sucks and it hurts. And even when I'm doing this and I'm like smiling and trying to keep like a positive like spin on it, it's still hurtful, and it still sucks that looking at this list, it's literally all bad categories, one good-ish to okay category, and then the only really one that truly shows what it is a documentary. And then the rest of like what's really showing what it is like on YouTube or on podcasts or forums online, and it's really just self-advocacy at this point because no one seems to care. So hey, if you're watching this and you do care, either you a system or not, and you're trying to break down the stigma and the romanticization and get an accurate view of DID, we love you. You're great. Keep it up. We'll keep doing what we do. You keep doing what you do. We'll see each other around. Thanks for watching. Bye.